Ladies, welcome to Revitalized Womanhood. I am here with Joey Hodlmair, and thank you so much for being here with me. I know took some work to get us together. We had
Yes, it
weather
did.
interrupting us.
Yes. Lots of snow. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your patience. We have had almost 3 feet in about 4 days. So it's been quite the snowfall.
That's so crazy for me. I am a northern Utah girl, but it's been so long. Like I've been in southern Utah for over 20 years now, I think. So I think once you've lived in a place longer than you've actually lived anywhere else in your entire life, you can pretty much just say you're from there now, right? It doesn't matter that you were raised there. You're pretty much from there now.
Yeah, for sure,
So,
definitely.
so for us to get that, what was it, 5 inches I told you we got up at our cabin? You're
Yes.
like, oh, good for you. That's adorable. And we're like panicked. We're like,
No.
we're snowed in.
5 inches is significant if you're not used to it. That's a lot. So.
Yes. Well, Joey, would you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Sure. Introductions aren't my favorite thing, but
That's okay.
If I were to wrap myself up, I would say, hi, I'm Joey. I am a nature lover, homesteader, roadsteader, mother, and wife. I am a mother of one. I always thought I would have a family of 7 or more and running in the fields, Sound of Music kind of. That was my dream. However, I have been blessed with my one, and I'm super grateful. She is my miracle baby. I am a former teacher. I spent years in the classroom, and that's actually where I met my husband. And now I'm mama. I do wear several hats, but my focus is mainly on family. That is my main drive. So.
The reason that I wanted to have you on here, and I'm so glad that you agreed to do it, is because I would like to, and not even introduce my audience, because I think a lot of my audience is heavily homeschooling. And so I want to break into learning more about that and introducing more of that into my podcast, because I do think that that is a big part of my niche, I guess. And I support it. I love it. I don't do it. I guess I don't need to say I don't do it, because when we're traveling, we're world schooling. So that's a form of doing the same thing. However, I saw your account. So we follow some similar accounts. So you know how Instagram gets us, like you go here, you go here, you go here. So we follow some of the same people, and it brought me to you, and your page is gorgeous. Like,
oh, thank you.
Stopped me. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to just hang out here, because the vibe is just very opposite of what you would think social media. Like most of the time people are running from social media, trying to take hiatus from social media because it's so overwhelming and it's so compare, it makes you feel worse about yourself, whatever. But I found your page and I was like, opposite. It was so refreshing and so beautiful and so peaceful.
Thank you. That's like my goal. So to hear somebody say that that's what they're seeing in it, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you, I don't want to, and I actually meant to ask you this before we started recording, and I'm not formal. I'm super I just recorded with my girl Leah last week. She was nursing on here. I almost had my baby on here today. It's a whole thing. We're not formal. But if you feel comfortable enough, would you share your experience of how you got to your miracle baby? Just because we are all women and this is a women's community, and I'm sure that's affected someone else.
Yeah, for sure. And actually it's really good because, while we are, or currently recently we're a travel family, Destination Mommy, my name actually started because I wanted to share my infertility journey. So my destination was mommy.
I get
motherhood.
It.
And so my journey began actually very, very early on. I was raised by a mama who made our food, did all the things. I shouldn't have toxin overload in my body, on and on and on. Infertility shouldn't be an issue. However, my cycle started very young, and it was hard. it was a struggle. From very early on, we started seeing doctors, anything that we could. Didn't get much support other than at 12 years old, take the birth control pill. Well, my mom was like, I don't know, that just doesn't seem right. Well, it got to a point where we didn't have much of a choice because of that, I'm going to go all in.
Go ahead. This is a women's community.
The heavy bleeding. There wasn't an option. The other option was very extreme, and so there just wasn't an option. So birth control was what I took, and that had its own ramifications. But we finally, when I was about 17, came across a naturopath that had a huge background in women's health and helping women with my situation, and that had been in my situation. And so we started working with her. And that was great. We, did a lot of detoxifying and, of course, off the birth control and moving away from the Western medicine world, which there is a time and place for that, but we moved away from that completely. And things were great. Well, I went to college and thought, things are great, and I'm going to go back to life and not really following through these things because I was so wrapped up in school and getting through school. I was doing multiple degrees and I just stopped taking care of myself that way. Well, everything came snowballing, and it got so bad where I was so anemic that I was almost to the point of needing a blood transfusion. And the doctor at that point in time said to me, well, we are going to do a laparoscopy. We're going to cauterize everything that's going on there. You have endometriosis, you have fibroids, you have all sorts of things. We're going to take care of that. They did that, and that worked. Usually it works for women for about 6 months to a year to stop the heavy bleeding. It worked for 3 weeks for me, and things were back full force. And at that point in time, he suggested, because of the growth of my cysts and other things, that I look into a hysterectomy. I was in my mid-20s, and everything that I had wanted to be since I was 5 years old was a mama. 5 is significant because my brother was born, my first brother was born then, and he became mine. I basically told my mom, I've got this. And I knew that I wanted to be a mom. So and I know there's other ways to be a mom. I wanted to carry a baby. I wanted to carry my own child. And he told me, actually very early on, he was the second one who told me. I was told at 12 that I would most likely never carry my own child. He was the second doctor to say, I don't see you carrying your own child. I really think a hysterectomy is what we need to move towards. So I spent some time thinking about that, and I thought, wait. Rewind. Let's go back to the naturopath, which is what I did. And we got back on track. Fast forward years. And I met my husband while I was teaching. We were teaching in the same school. And I dove really heavy back into acupuncture, a chiropractor, Chinese herbal remedies, and really focused on being still and really thinking about what I wanted. And that was a child. And thankfully, it wasn't too long in the realm of things where I became pregnant. And yeah, I mean, there's a much longer story there, but I found out I was pregnant, and yeah.
Sorry, hang on. What I was going to say, what were the years? You said years went by, but what were those years for you between?
It was a lot.
Because you were in college.
Yes, I had college. I went to school. I taught. I was very particular about who I was going to be marrying. So, I was really focused on my work. I was career driven, and I just wasn't, husband wasn't my thing. I didn't really think I'd be able to have kids. So I really kind of avoided getting in a relationship and just dove into work. It was kind of my way of protecting myself. And so the children I taught became a huge part of my life. And it wasn't until I was, I was 35. And 35 or 36. 36, yeah, 36. I got pregnant. So many, many years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you say that you were protecting yourself and that you can acknowledge that, because that's exactly what I would think in that situation. You don't want to get involved with anybody and have to explain that, right? Because you feel like it's your fault. You feel like now it's their burden. Now they aren't going to get to have kids because of this problem that you have, and you're going to have to explain that. And then they're going to be like, nope, or whatever. And I bet your husband was not even. I bet he just loved you and just wanted to.
Well, he was a kindergarten teacher, and he's like kindergarten cop because he's 6'2" and he's, yeah. So I was like, wow, this is like amazing. And we had a conversation. It was just a very random conversation. He's like, oh, well, I was adopted, something like that should never be an issue. And I was like, this is my husband. And that became my husband.
That is perfect that he was adopted. That is so perfect.
Yeah, he was adopted. So yeah, it was just like my sign, because he was like, people can adopt babies if they need to. And he wasn't brushing me off as far as like, you shouldn't try to have your own, but he was making sure that I knew that that wasn't something to stand in the way.
That wasn't a game changer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that. So tell me how you got from being on you're both teachers, right? You're both in the school system. Where did you guys work? What state did you guys work in?
Colorado. I had never,
Colorado.
up until recently, left my home state where I was born and raised. So Colorado.
Okay, Colorado. So you were both teachers and you decided to go travel around with your little girl in the RV. Have you always traveled in the RV, or did you guys just do trips without it beforehand? Or has that kind of always been your MO?
Well, I was born and raised as a child camping, like tent camping. We did a lot of tent camping, a lot of sleeping in the back of the car, going to the lake, just a real quick trip. I mean, my mom would load us all up and we would go and, camp. And when I had my daughter, we did take a camping trip, which has a hilarious story. And I was like, I don't know if I am cut out for camping with a young one. I just don't know. I don't know how my mom did it. Of course, we did more camping trips, and we made sure that we had things like propane for the generator or gas for the generator, whatever. But we just decided, after a conversation actually with my daughter, that we would get an RV and see what it was like to go even further. Our very first trip was actually to the Redwoods in California. And that was because of a book we had read together as a family. And our little one said, let's go see it. And we were like, yeah, let's go see it. So we spent almost the entire summer, 2.5 months, at the Redwoods. And we fell in love with RV life. And I mean, it just was so nice to have your home on wheels. We could stop wherever we needed to. And then that led to getting a different RV and taking an entire year to just go and travel around and go where we wanted to. Actually, our little one was the encourager for the second trip. She really wanted to see manatees for her birthday.
So
and I had actually always dreamed of swimming with manatees. So we did it. That's what we did.
Hot Springs, Florida?
We were right on Crystal River.
Yep.
In Florida, or Chassahowiska actually is where we were actually at. And we spent every day for almost a month and a half paddling and swimming with manatees and just, enjoying life.
So how old was she when she said this?
So the first time she said this, she was 3.5, and she told us that we needed to travel.
Was that the Redwood one?
Not the Redwood one. She was 4 when she said that we needed to go see the Redwoods. And I was like, okay, well, you're going to turn 5 and then we can go ahead and do that. And that's what we did.
That's awesome. And what I said to you when you told me this first time, listeners, I said, that's pretty amazing. Imagine, put yourself in your shoes of what she's saying. Her 4-year-old said, let's go travel.
Yep.
I'm done.
There's time. Yep.
We're going to go do it. Get in the RV. We're out.
right? Well, there was some significant things that had happened in between there. Like I mentioned to you, my mom and I are very super close, and she had a massive stroke. We had been homesteading before then. If you look through my page, raising chickens and all the things, canning food, that sort of stuff was life. And then my mom had a massive stroke, and our whole family just made the decision that we needed to change things up a little bit. We decided to sell that homestead land and simplify life. And my husband and I were like, okay, well, we sold our home. We came out here to help them. Now they're selling. Let's go. Like, there's nothing holding us back. There should have never been anything holding us back. Let's just do it. And I'm so glad that we listened to her words, because it was exactly what I needed.
So I'm coming back to the RV life, but for homesteading, what got you into that? What made you, is it because of your mom and how you were raised, and that kind of, that's kind of always what felt right?
Yep. I was raised with backyard ducks. We were in a smaller, we didn't have land at that point in time. I was raised in a small cul-de-sac with backyard ducks. My mom made our food. She cooked from scratch. She canned stuff. She made fruit roll-ups before making fruit roll-ups was a cool thing. All the things that now you see that are super cool, she was actually given a lot of flack for. She was called crunchy and granola when it wasn't cool, and, told that the way her children were raised was wild and not, taken care of, because we played outside. We swam with our ducks in the little pool pond, and were muddy, and that was a beautiful childhood. And now we see that as trendy. That's the thing now to do. And so I'm hoping now that she sees and she knows that what she did then was powerful. And that's a lot of what I share on my page, is that simplicity, and that, like, those mundane things that we see as just every day, those are the beautiful things. That is life, and that is living. So yes, the way she raised us is just how I've kind of always have been. And that's what kind of just led to that homesteading, that self-sufficiency, and just taking care of ourselves. Like I said, before it became trendy, and now it's, it's the thing to do.
If you are interested, I had my mom on. We did an episode. And so she was raised on a farm, in the very farm life, with 6 kids in her family and all the things. And same thing, her mom got cancer when she was young, and she had to basically step up. She was the oldest girl. And so she sewed all her clothes and her family's clothes, and they cooked and they bottled and they did all the same things, very similar, worked on the farm and on those kinds of things. And for her, it was culture shock to move to this bigger city after she got married. And the city I grew up in was not a big city, but it was a bigger city for her. And so for her to say that on my episode, that it was culture shock for her to go from 200 acres to, and our backyard was big. We had fruit trees. She had a nice, huge garden, but it wasn't wide open spaces. Right. And so for her, it was suffocating almost, which I didn't know that about that. And so I was actually raised with, and it's funny you say that your mom was cool before it was cool, because I said that to her. I said, you were cool before it was cool. I basically said the same thing. My friends used to come over and eat all of our pickles and eat. We'd always have fresh bread every day. And I did not get any of that. None. I got nothing of that. I do have sisters that they bake and they sew and they do those kinds of things. But so I was raised that same way. But my pure imperfection, my philosophy over there, my motto, my mantra is the moments may be big or small, but they are all an adventure. Because that same thing, like we raise our kids to, Rick will take them out in the middle of a cow pond to catch salamanders, right? Or they go out to Moab and we let everybody loose in the wildflowers and they eat dandelions, or they catch horny toads. If they can catch horny toads, they get paid $5. Or, it's things like that, yes, it is unheard of to some people. That is completely bizarre to some people, but it's like, yeah, it's cool. We love it. We love it. We spent The first year, I think we were traveling in 2017, we were in Europe for the very first time. And my little boy was two going on three, so 2 to 3. And every country we went to, we learned so much about their different bugs and their different slugs and their different, because that's all he wanted to do. We have so many pictures of him with these slugs in his hands or these, and we'd be like Googling as fast as we can, like, is this poisonous? Is this going to hurt anybody?
Yes,
like,
yeah.
what is he picking up? You know, those big banana slugs, so cool.
Yes.
And it was so fun to see him experience life over there in a completely different way that we were experiencing it, right? Like they were chasing each other, playing tag around Stonehenge.
Yes.
You know, everybody's so serious and quiet and controlled, and my kids are just like, "Wah!" like running over, hopping over the don't cross this line, and they're like yelling at us, and we're like, sorry, dang Americans, you know, that kind of thing. And I love that. I love that about your page. And maybe that's where, even though we are different, I'm not a homesteader. I am not. Even the homeschooling aspect just freaks me out to no end. I love it. I appreciate it. But even though we are different in those ways, we still have so much in common and so much common ground to appreciate and respect each other. So what does it look like, a day in the life of the RV? What does that look like?
Well, it's actually pretty normal. We are not in like a tiny RV, not to say that it would be any different. Our RV is definitely very homey. I mean, I have a regular residential fridge. I have a residential oven. It's a smaller residential oven, but it's still, I cook in it. I mean, I bake bread and all the stuff, so it's not much different. I truly believe in life together. That's how my daughter has been raised. You know, I don't wait for her to be taking a nap for me to be going through and cleaning the house. She's always been a part of that routine, whether it was, you know, in my arm as a little one, or now as, you know, helping me, or maybe she's reading a book while I'm doing it. But we just do life together. You know, it's not much different than if we were in a home. The only difference is we can take our home where we want to go. And so that is very convenient and nice. It's nice to be able to be like, let's go travel. Let's go take a road trip. And I don't have to book, you know, unless we want to, but I don't have to book a place to stay. I don't have to worry about stops necessarily. I mean, we need to know that there's a place to stop, obviously, but it's just easy. It's nice. Well, it's not easy. I'm not going to lie. It's not easy, but it is convenient. It's much more convenient to have your home with you. I don't have to pack stuff. It's just there.
Well, it's like anything in life. That's just life. It comes with its ups and downs. It comes with its pros and cons. Anything you do, you just have to look at it. And if you're looking at it like it's going to be hard and bad and blah, it's going to be, for sure. That's everybody's face when we tell them we travel with our kids like that. They're like, why? You know, and it's like, because we love it. That's what we do. And it's not for everybody. But if your attitude is constantly that it's going to be that, then it's going to be.
Yeah, your attitude is a huge piece of this. I think that's another theme across my page, is that, you know, your attitude towards things makes or breaks things. I think early on, if I would have said to my daughter, I don't want to travel, that scares me, or going out of my hometown, like the thoughts that I was having of, I haven't really left our hometown, like my hometown and my people. I mean, I've gone places, but I don't really like that idea. Her attitude would have shifted most likely as well. We're very in tune with each other, and I know that just would have changed things. So our attitude definitely impacts, you know, our family, ourselves, and everything. So
that's so perfect that you just said that. We just got done with the month of December talking about fear and how we need to respect it, but not let it run our lives, basically, right? And one of my members said, well, I am very intentional about what I'm doing because my kids are watching me, And if I start showing them, just like you said, if I start showing them that this is a reason to be afraid or this is a reason not to do something. So she's like, my kids actually are my why of what pushes me out of my comfort zone so that I can show them that this is fine. This is okay. And I'm like, that's good for you. That's really good for you because you're right. It would pass down, right?
Yes.
It's, what do they say? What's that saying? It's not, when the kids watch you, it's not taught, it's caught. It's not taught, it's caught. Yeah.
Yes.
So where you've gone all over the country right now, you are cozy in the snow in Colorado. Where has been your favorite place?
Our favorite oh gosh. I don't think I could give one. We were really surprised. Well, I shouldn't say really surprised, but everybody was like, "Oh, Texas, you're going to be spending time there." And I was like, "Yeah." Well, we spent about a month and a half on Mustang Island. We used the ferry to get across with our RV and our truck over to the island. We could have drove over the bridge as well, but of course you got to hop on the ferry. It's only 5 minutes, but we had to get on the ferry. It was super amazing to have, a massive RV and truck on there. And we spent a month and a half there. We only planned on spending 3 weeks there, and we ended up staying much longer. Like I said, Mustang Island, Port Aransas. It was beautiful. We just loved being able to walk to the beach every day. But our top experience probably was spending all that time swimming with manatees. I mean, we literally spent every day. There was either dolphins or manatees, and of course lots of fish. But we were paddleboarding or kayaking or canoeing, and fishing for blue crab. Not really fishing. You're netting blue crab. Fishing for redfish, that sort of stuff. It was just a wonderful experience, and we probably would have stayed there longer, but we had other places as well. So we definitely loved Georgia. Every place we went, we fell in love with each spot for what it was. So
that's because you have that great attitude about it.
My daughter also encouraged that. I can just keep saying, she definitely finds the beauty in everything. It's something that she actually reminded me. We were on the beach and she asked me why I wasn't picking up the broken shells, and my heart immediately sunk, and I was like, she said, "Mommy, you said there's, beauty in everything, but you're leaving all the broken shells behind." And I was like, oh,
busted.
Talk about whoa. Eye-opening moment for me to check in with myself, and I'm like, oh, you know what? You're right. She's like, because look at these beautiful broken shells. They would be really neat to make some art with. And so I get a lot of reminders from her.
She's adorable.
She is.
That was another thing that was in the cards for you to meet your husband, because you told me he is now a fly fishing guide. That's what he loves to do, right?
Yeah, he's been a fly fishing guide for even before he taught, but yeah, that's what he's doing now. Yeah.
So what an amazing adventure for you all to be on. You all love being outdoors. You all love that, and you're raising your little girl to be the same way. I love that. It's so beautiful that that's going to continue on, and she's going to raise her little family to be that way, and that's so amazing.
She probably will. Who knows? If she does, she goes another route. I want her to be happy. Happy with the mundane, happy with simple. I think that if you can be happy with that, then you can be happy anywhere.
I think that's why I say it, because if you're okay being, my husband likes to say, I could be on the floor somewhere staying and be happy, and I can be at the Wynn staying somewhere and be happy. You could take me somewhere fancy and dress me up and I'd be having a good time, or I could be staying in a old rundown commune on the floor of a bus. I don't know, and he says it's being happy, just like you're saying, being happy with the little experiences, the adventures, seeing the adventure in everything.
Yes, absolutely.
So if someone were to ask you, how do you even get into homesteading? Where do you begin? Dummy's Guide to Homesteading.
Yeah.
Because that is, like you said, it's becoming super trendy. It is becoming a big deal. And I don't necessarily know if I want to put the word trendy on it, because I'm starting to see it, and a lot of people are starting to see it, that it's becoming maybe a necessity. It's getting scary.
Definitely.
Eggs are 50 cents an egg now.
Yeah. Yes. No, it's not trendy. It is, yeah, a necessity. And the thing that I would encourage, and I've always encouraged, because like I said, my mom, when it was just us, did not have land. You can homestead. I mean, I know if we get into it, people are going to take, the definition of homestead and go crazy with it. But you can be self-sufficient, self-sustainable, no matter how big your house is, your home, whatever, because you can network with your neighbors, with local farmers, with other people and barter and trade and support each other that way. And, for us, when we had chickens, it was trading eggs with people that had beef or whatever it was. Just start small. Start with something that is meaningful for you, something that needs to change maybe in your home. If it's, I know a lot of people who have gluten sensitivities or who don't want to go and buy bread or whatever. So start with learning how to make your own bread. Start there. Start simple. That's something you can do in a very tiny place. I mean, I make our bread. I can and do all that in our RV. I don't have a separate place to do that. Yeah, of course, I'm not canning hundreds of cans because I don't have a place right now to put it. But you can do all that. I make our own pickles, like you mentioned, pickles. I don't buy pickles. I just make our own pickles. Just start small. It does not have to be, I need a farm. I need cows. I need, it's better to actually just pick one thing and start there, learn it, know how to do it, share it with somebody. Take your loaf of bread that you made and see if you can get eggs from somebody that you know, or whatever it is. Just that simple, those basic steps is how to get started, and to not let things like the space you have hold you back. My mom had a massive flower garden in a small backyard, but she focused on flowers and herbs. And she had enough to share with so many people. So I think, don't let space define you. That's number one.
That's so beautiful. And I love that you said start with learning how to make bread. So simple. And what you just said, herbs, an herb garden. That's so simple. Because for me, I think of instantly chickens, like meat and cows and, I do. I think goats. I think that way, but I don't think in the home, start with, you have to know how to make bread. You have to know how to. So this weekend, actually, funny enough, we are bottling meat. We are going to bottle meat for the first time because we obviously have plenty of freezers. We have freezers full. My husband hunts, so we have elk, we have whitetail, we have pheasant, we have halibut.
You guys want a lot, yeah.
Yes, we have halibut, we have salmon, we have tuna, we have all sorts of things. But we've got this axis deer from Hawaii that he came back with. And when it came, he was actually gone on another hunt. So when it came in Ziploc bags frozen already. So I didn't know what to do with it. So I just refroze it again. So now instead of taking it out and thawing it and refreezing it again, we're going to bottle it.
Perfect.
I know. So this is going to be our very first experience with that. So we'll see how that goes.
But see, those are the things I think people get deterred, or they're like turned off by it because they think it needs to, or overwhelmed because they think it needs to be the animals and the land and all those things, when it can be very basic skills that you start out with. And just like focus on those sort of things. Even things like make your own applesauce or make your own salad dressings, make your own mayonnaise. Just start with those very basic things, and then like branch out as you start to feel comfortable. Just branch out, and also start to talk to local people that are doing those sort of things.
Engage with other people. I was just going to say, if you're not in a community that has this kind of a vibe, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think you would find it anywhere, but maybe not. Maybe not in New York. They're not, I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah. But like get online and reach out. So I had my very first retreat a couple weeks ago. And so it brought women from all over the country here together. Well, so Ryan Mickler, the Order of Man, which is the men's version of what I am, his wife is amazing. She's an amazing, I guess we can start to call them homesteader. They have huge property. They have chickens. Their whole basement of their home, they have one of those old, really cool homes in Maine. And so the whole basement of their home is her chicken coops and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really cool. And she started taking up bees. So she's got her bees and she started building all of these garden boxes and she's bottling and she's doing all these cool, really cool things. But it's like, so all of these women at the retreat were just starting to ask her those kind of questions. Like, okay, well, how'd you start with this? Well, how'd you start with that? Well, what do you think about this? And it's just reaching out to, she didn't know. She just got there and thought, I want to do this, so I'm going to do it. So reach out to other people because they probably really would like to tell you.
Yeah.
In my experience, if you are curious about someone, genuinely curious and happy to learn from someone, they want to tell you. They want to show you.
Absolutely.
My husband wants to be... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and there's lots of people sharing that nowadays.
Yes. So. Yes, it's true. It's true. It's very easy to find the information now. And especially with YouTube, you can't like throw a dart without hitting a topic on YouTube, I swear. So we are very fortunate in that way. If we take the time to actually get the knowledge, that's the difference, is actually figuring out what it is you want to do, why you want to do it, and then actually doing it. So I was going to say, my husband wants to, his kind of dream, I guess, would be to kind of have the micro and be not just dirty jobs, but go around and do things like that are like butchering an animal and get really, really good at it. He's like, I just want to go and like mentor with someone and get really, really good at that, or go and fix a car, like an old real engine, transmission, know how to take it apart, put it back together. He's like, these kind of skills really fascinates him, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, that is so cool to be able to know that that's something that just interests you. And one of my members just hopped on. She said, we're going to start a cooking class. I think it's really fun. We're going to start a cooking class. And I'm like, that is so cool. Good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you feel any kind of, and how old is your little one now?
She'll be 7 in February.
7.
The end of February.
So this is going to come out so weird because I have no idea, but I travel with my kids and I know they're not in school, so they're not socializing. So I know, how do you socialize when you are doing these kind of things? Is it just like at the playground? Is it just what kind of things do you do for that?
So I probably have also a very, maybe not, I'm just going to say how I feel.
You do you.
After teaching in the classroom.
This community is a you do you.
Good.
And we respect it.
I don't usually hold back. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be somebody other than I am. After so many years in the classroom, and, we spend a lot of time talking about socialization, and I've studied brain development and all that sort of stuff. I have my master's in education, childhood development. I know now that socialization school is not where that happens. Yes, it happens there, but that is not the foundation. Socialization happens in a very safe and secure place, and that begins in the home. Yes, there are homes where there's not socialization happening. People aren't talking to each other. They're not near family or friends or those sort of things. But the foundation is at home. It's with the people that you feel the safest with. And so for my little one to, build that socialization, those skills, and that safety with family first is the most important thing to me. She now is super comfortable with, and she's even, she's shy, which is fine. I was shy as well. So I don't have any issues with that or hangups with that. She will go and socialize with people and have a conversation with adults, or usually she loves talking with adults, and very comfortably. And people are like, wow, she's so socialized. How'd you do that? She doesn't go to school. I'm like, yeah, I know. And that's not bragging. That is just, there is power in letting our children feel comfortable and confident in the home and not forcing them to become independent before they're ready, and not forcing them to socialize with a group of children in a classroom when really it's not socialization. It's more management skills and just kind of trying to navigate these chunks of time where you're around other people. It's not necessarily socializing. So I think that really does have to happen in the home first. And that's why I think it's super important to talk to our children. I've always talked to my daughter. People looked at me so funny when I was in the grocery store with her when she was a newborn. I'd be talking about what I was making for dinner, and they're looking at me like, who is she talking to? But you're socializing. That is socializing. Their emotional regulation, all that begins in the home. So to just make a long story short, at home. It begins at home. It really does. And that can be just mom and child. It can be mom, child, and a sibling. It can be mom, child, father, whatever that situation looks like. That is really where it begins. And it has to be strong there first and solid there first for it then to go out and, be strong and good outside of the home. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. But to go past that, play dates. Going to the library, you meet people there. Or when we were traveling and we were in the RV parks or wherever we were, you're around people all the time. So, she sees us talking to other people, saying hi, asking them if they need anything, helping other people. It's the same thing. Those skills, they're watching you. So as they watch you, then they become that person as well. She's asked several neighbors before in RV parks, can I sweep your steps or whatever it is? That's where it begins. It starts at home. It starts with us.
I actually love what you said. I think you said it beautifully because I am with you. We've had our kids out of the country. We don't have our kids. They basically were, Hayes was 2 and Castle was 5 when we left the country. And so Hayes didn't go back to school till he was 6. So he wasn't introduced into school till he was 6. So, and the reason it wasn't 5 was exactly for the reasons that I didn't feel like he was ready to be around other people until he was 6. And so I'm with you. And we have our oldest son who, yeah, absolutely he was more interested in, and probably is still, hanging out with us and having conversations with the adults, because we're not having bad conversations. We're not setting those kinds of examples, but he was interested in talking like an adult and not like a baby, right?
Yep.
He always wanted to hang out with the older kids, and that's just where his brain was. That's just where his level of intelligence was. That's where he was, he was more comfortable talking to older kids than younger kids and those kinds of things. But yeah, we had to do the same things. And I love that you said the library. We totally would go to the library and we would let them check out books, or we would go to story time, and in other countries we would do this. Or at the park. I remember this one time, we were there and Castle was 5 because it was the first time we went out, and there was a little boy in Prague. We were in the Czech Republic. We were in Prague, and we were at this little park, and this little boy was playing with Pokemon cards. And Castle's like, I love Pokemon cards. And we're like, well, go play with him. And neither one of them could communicate with the other. They didn't have any idea what they were saying, but they played with these Pokemon cards and they had the best time. And it was the sweetest experience for me to watch how they just know how to hang out and have a good time. It doesn't matter if they're not communicating, but no, you said it beautifully. And I loved your take on it, and other people have different opinions. That's fine.
Yes. Yeah.
It's absolutely fine. And especially you coming from being a teacher and your husband being a teacher and having your master's degree in that. It's pretty interesting to hear from you on that topic.
I definitely have a different take, but I think a lot of homeschooling or unschooling or that side, I think we all kind of have that same feeling. We've watched how our children do not need to be socialized to be socialized.
Well, and I think it's getting to be so much more popular because of everything after COVID and everything going on in the world. And we don't need to get all political up in here, but I think it's becoming a way I literally just got off the phone with a friend that I haven't hung out with or seen since high school, but we've kind of followed each other a little bit recently because she does a health coaching. And so our communities now kind of coordinate. But
Yeah.
so we got on the phone yesterday and just had a good chat. And she's like, oh, have you come across the homeschooling topics yet? And I said, yes, I have lots of members that are homeschool moms, and I'm trying to get Good and the Beautiful on here, and I'm trying to get, is it Ainsley on here, whatever. I'm like, yes, I love all the things. And she's like, I can't wait to hear all the different takes. And I said, but there are different takes on it. You have to know what kind of a homeschool atmosphere you want to have. You have to know, oh, Silo and Sage, that's another one she was following. I'm like, you have to know first what you expect of yourself, what your expectations are of your kids and your homeschooling. Like, is it going to look like school? Because that's kind of the point. You're not doing that. So what's it going to look like? And so she was really hungry for any resources that she could get. So where would you, and I know you are your own personal journey, but for you, where would you suggest starting to a mom that's like, I want to homeschool?
I think you first have to kind of think about like your philosophy. What does it look like to you? Do you want like structure? Do you want a curriculum? Do you feel nervous about, will my child, be okay if they go back to school? Or, you first have to kind of really sit with yourself and think about what works for your family. I know for some people having a curriculum that guides them from A to Z, and because they have to check in with their state, whatever their, for my husband and I, yes, we're both educators. We're both licensed teachers. We, in the state of Colorado, do not then need to report in to anybody. We don't have to be doing the testing and that sort of stuff. So it's a little bit different. So you need to start with first finding out your state laws. I did share it's HSLDA, homeschooling state law. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I have a story that I shared and I saved it in my highlights that shows where to go to find your homeschooling laws. And then, go there and look and kind of get an idea for how you're going to need to check in. But then start to, Instagram is a world of there's tons of resources there, tons of different philosophies. You just kind of have to decide, like, do you want it to be more how we are? We are kind of more life is learning. We incorporate, every day, whether it be baking, whether it's learning a new skill, whether it's learning about the weather, life and everything that we do is an opportunity for learning. And so we do that. We do tons of reading in our home. We do a lot of writing with nature journaling, but that may not be somebody's thing. They may need more of a structured workbook or system. So it's kind of first, like I said, sitting with yourself and deciding, like, what do I need this to look like in order for it to work with my family? Do I want it to be an hour a day? Do I need it to be throughout the day? There's just a lot to it. And that's actually something that I used to do, is just kind of help people navigate that and figure it out, because it's not easy at first. If it's new, it's very hard. And so I spent a lot of time working with people on just kind of navigating that. I know for me, one of the biggest resources that I often recommend is the Wild Math. She also has Wild Reading. That's just a really great resource because it incorporates, like, you can be doing it in the home, but it's also something you can be doing on the go. But yeah, I could go on and on. There's just so much out there, but you really have to first think about what you need, what your home needs. I am a firm believer, though, that it's not school. You do homeschooling for the freedom to be able to say, you know what, homeschooling this week is going to be, we're just resting. Like, wow, we had a wild week last week. Transitions were rough. We just need to reset. Or homeschooling this week is, we are going to Canyonlands, or we're going to Moab, and we're going to go learn, or we're just going to go hang out. Like, there's flexibility in it, and that's why you jump into it. You don't jump into it to look like school. For some people, I know that works. Some people do set up their day very structured. They have centers. They do math at this time. They do reading at this time. And that works for their family. It has to be, you have to find what fits for your family. And that's, like I said, that is huge.
I think that's exactly right. You have to know who you are and what you're capable of. Like I said, you need to, first start with your expectations because, Wild and Free. That's who I've been trying to reach out to as well. Wild and Free. Is that who you're talking about? So
no, I was, this is a whole other.
Oh, good. Oh yeah. Tell me that. Cause that's what I thought of when you said that.
I should actually, let's see.
Or you can send it to me even.
Yeah, I'll have to send it to you so that I don't say it wrong because
that's fine.
It's called Wild, like she does Wild Math.
Cool. Oh yeah, you said Wild Math, Wild Reading.
Yeah, Wild Math, Wild Reading, and I don't want to send you the wrong, hold on just a second. I'll have to send it to you, but I think it's just, I don't want to say it wrong, but I think it's Discover Wild Learning.
Okay, I'll put it in my show notes, and if anybody wants it, so after you send it to me, so I make sure I get the right ones. But my husband made the best statement yesterday. He was actually talking about, and I think this is so important for humans, because when we were traveling, it was especially, I keep saying when, because we're leaving again. We leave like in 2 days to go, and we're gone. But when we were first in Europe, we were just go, go, go. We got to go. We got to get here. We got to go here. We want to see here. We were just there and we wanted to see it all, and humans, especially specific humans, like cultures, like Americans and, the English and Germans, Canadian, I don't know about them, but anyway, versus Spain and Italy and these kind of cultures that really, really encourage taking time and taking a break in the middle of the day and relaxing, going home, spending time with your family. You know what I mean? Completely different. It was really hard for us to get out of it. And I remember sitting in our this like barn that was over 300 years old that was renovated into this cool little house, and sitting there by the fire, and my husband sitting with our boys across from me, and I was just reading with a glass of wine, and they were just being silly, doing whatever they were doing. And I thought, slow down. Slow down. Like, it's so important to just stop what we're doing and slow down. And Rick, so my husband he just made this statement yesterday, and I was like blown away by it. He was just kind of talking, but he was back in his office with some of his employees and partners, and they were going over numbers, whatever. And he said, we all need time to reset. We think that we just need to go, 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 go. And that's what life is about, is just, it's not even it's how many tasks we get done, not the quality of the tasks, right? Versus, he said, what is nature? What is a tree? What is a bear? They do their thing this amount of time, but then God says, you sleep, right? God says, you take a break, tree. You've done it. You've given your shade. He said it way, way better than what I'm saying, but he's like, you've given your shade. Your leaves have changed these beautiful colors we've enjoyed, and now it's time for you to sleep. And it's like, give yourself permission to do that, right? Yeah. Slow down. And that's why I don't know if I'm just so drawn to your account. It was so beautiful to me that it was like I told you, it was like scroll, 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 like fast, 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 fast. And I hit yours, and it was just like, slow down. It was like a reminder to just slow down. Give yourself permission to take it in. And I don't know where I was going with that, but that's what it was.
It is. It's super important. And we've gone so against the seasons in so many ways. And a lot of that comes from, we do have to provide, obviously. But then we end up with all these things. I mean, there's so many women and men with adrenal fatigue and burnout and, huge amounts of stress, which is the most dangerous thing ever. And, I think, like I said, my daughter was a huge pushing point for me to really, one, slow down, because, that's what I was doing. I was raising my little one. And then, I swear, I always say she's an old soul, but I also feel like she came from another country, because she's like, let's have tea and read for, an hour, and let's just do that. And so it's always been this reminder of like contentment, and that it's something we need. We do need those things. And, you can go and do that and live that lifestyle, but it's just, are you living? Are you really living, or having that time to, restore? It's so important. We have to restore, or like that foundation just breaks. And then if your foundation breaks, everything else around it breaks. And I'm not talking as I'm the high and mighty up here, because I've never had that happen. I'm talking because I've had that happen. And, a lot of my infertility piece was, okay, you've got to stop. You have to stop, and your foundation has to be completely restored and fixed before we go to the next step.
Yeah, your stress was manifested.
Reminders in my life of, I have things right now that I'm working on accomplishing, and there's a piece of me, there's that type A that wants to come out and say, okay, get it done. You could sit down and get this done. You could work all night and have it done. But I also know the sacrifice, what that means. Like, I am sacrificing something in doing that. So yeah, it's a constant reminder for myself as well.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with me, because it's a sacrifice to do that. You're away from your sweet little babe and your husband and your homestead in your RV.
my RV stead.
Yeah, RV stead. We did the RV. It was super fun. We just went from Salt Lake and did a loop up to like Jackson Hole and back down when I was pregnant with our third. And we actually talked about doing it for our 3-month road trip we did around the U.S. earlier in the year, the first of the year. But the gas prices were it was when they were like, I took a picture of one. It was like $9 a gallon.
Yes.
Somewhere we passed.
And
I'm like, oh.
Yeah, coming home it cost us like 3 times as much just to come home as it did to do our big, huge trip. I was like, okay, well, we'll take a break for a while.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. It's different. It's definitely a different time, but we'll figure it out. It'll correct. We'll figure it out. But I really appreciate you being here with me. And I will let everyone know, if you want to go see this beautiful account, it's Destination Mommy on Instagram. And anything else you want to add?
No, I really think that we talked about and covered a lot of things. I think, like you said, if you come to my account, it is a lot of just sharing that, finding contentment and really slowing down, and just embracing the mundane for what it is. Because, life is a beautiful thing if we just allow it to be what it is.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Joey.